Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Philly Phone Book, a podcast archive. I am your host, Gideon Caro McDonald, and with me today is a... he needs no introduction. The man, the myth, the legend,
Okay.
an actor, a previous college roommate of mine, and one of my best friends. We got Carl Bright-Walck in the house.
You gonna put a clap track there?
Sure, if you want.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing it yourself?
Layer that like 100 times over and then put it put it up.
Hi, Carl.
Okay. How have you been?
I've been good. How about you?
Yeah. Okay.
So, I know who you are,
Sure.
but those who are listening may not. So, why don't we use this opportunity?
Disrespectful.
I'm sorry. Why don't we use this opportunity for yourself to introduce who you are and your background, what you see yourself as in our community, and maybe a little bit of how we know each other.
Yeah. So shoot. Hang on. What was I trying to say? I already goofed it. Let me tell you about it. It's my name. Carl is my name. I'm by trade a blackjack dealer. That's my trade right now. It's a bum job, but it's actually not a bum job. It's actually a good job. But let's see. I grew up in a little town west of Philadelphia, about 2 hours west of Philadelphia, Annville, Pennsylvania. College town, college parents, stay-at-home mom. I was homeschooled. I started acting when I was 11. That's what I went to college for. That's how I know you.
Mm-hmm. University of the Arts.
Mm-hmm. Started playing violin when I was 5. I guess I would count myself as those things. Actor, musician, a little bit.
Yeah.
Like that.
For sure.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, what else was I supposed to say?
I think you got it.
I got it.
Yeah. And we were both at UArts for theater.
Yeah.
And we ended up rooming together.
Uh-huh.
And now you're an alumni. You're a graduate.
Yeah.
How's that been?
Good. I don't know. It's weird to be the last class of a place. My agent thought it was something that I could use for clout.
Oh,
He
yeah.
thought it was a good piece of clout. He said it was useful to have. I don't think of it that way. I think of it a little bit more ghostly. It's sort of weird. I was in that part of town a couple of weeks ago and I stopped by like Hamilton Hall, which if you're listening, you don't know, is one of the big buildings for the University of the Arts, for the former University of the Arts, and Terra and all these different buildings. Like Furness, I touched base with the security guards. It's a weird experience. I think it's like, it's not even really sad. It's just like, I don't know, poignant, I guess, or weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
To be the last out of the school. But I worked at the PA Ren Fair. That was good.
Yes, you did. Before we get into your recent work,
Yeah.
because I'd love to hear about, who you are as an actor and what you've been up to. But I want to know, as I, continue to talk to people for this podcast, I have been learning a lot about their connection with Philly and what the city's provided you. So I'd love to know, why did you end up here? Why are you now in Philly? What brought you here? Why do you like it? Do you like it? And has it taught you anything?
Man, this city's for the birds, man. There's too many pigeons in here. City's...
Yeah, I was going to be like, go Birds, and I do mean that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're about to win the Super Bowl. If we don't beat Kansas City in the Super Bowl... I want you to listen to me very carefully. If we don't beat Kansas City in the Super Bowl this year, Anyway.
We'll see how well this episode ages and when I release it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It might go poorly.
Editor's note. We won the freaking Super Bowl. Go Birds! This aged beautifully. Okay, bye.
Let's see. I didn't care about Philly till I came to Philly. I don't remember when I first came to Philly. Like I said, I grew up 2 hours west, and there was a show that I came to see with my dad when I was like 17. It was at the Lantern Theater. Shout out Lantern Theater Company. I hope they get that space in the Arts Bank.
Yeah.
I hope they get that space. That'd be clean. That'd be slick.
Editor's note. Unfortunately, the Lantern Theater did lose its bid to buy the Arts Bank, and unfortunately, it was sold to a company called Quadro Bay LLC, which is a large corporation, and it is unclear what they are going to do with the space. But yes, that has been settled.
But I came to see the show at the Lantern with my dad, and it was a great experience. We had dinner, and I don't know what else, But funnily enough, that was the same year that the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. And
yeah.
the night, this is interesting because I didn't know this story was going to be interesting, but it is. That night was the night we won the NFC title. And so we were going to this. We learned we were going to the Super Bowl that night. So my dad and I got out at dinner, and we were just walking along the streets, and there's just like cops lining the streets, and 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 we were able to just barely. And we asked, we like asked some of the cops, like, "Are you just like preparing for the outbursts of human beings?" And they were like, "Yeah, pretty much. It's gonna get crazy." We made it out of the city before anything happened. But so that was my first time, and then I came back to look at University of the Arts. I liked the vibe of University of the Arts. But this is like, all this to say, like, I don't know about anybody else, but it doesn't really take a whole lot for me to feel like I have the understanding of a city. Like you go to Boston and you just feel like somebody's yelling at you the whole time. Like you never feel like, or I don't feel happy. You go to New York and you feel like you can't breathe. It's claustrophobic. You go to, where else do you go? You go to Harrisburg and it feel like nobody's there. You go to Pittsburgh and you feel like, okay, these restaurants are good, but where's the steel? Like everything in a city feels like it hits me pretty fast. And when I came to Philly, it's just, it's a different environment. It's if you haven't been to Philly and you're listening to this, well, that's too bad. That's really too bad, I guess.
They should come visit, probably.
I guess,
yeah.
I could have said that, but I didn't. It's a good city. It just feels unified. I don't even know to what extent it is more or less unified than any other city, but when you step into the city, it feels more unified than other cities. I don't understand that, but that is just a truism.
What's it taught you? Has it taught you anything while you've been here? Because you've lived here for a minute now. About yourself, maybe?
No, it hasn't taught me anything.
Nothing at all?
I don't know. Like, well, I don't know. I mean, so I lived in Glasgow for 6 months in Scotland. It also feels like that city. These cities feel,
Really?
Well, not the city of Scotland. It feels like the city of Glasgow.
That's what I meant.
Scotland. Yeah.
You know what I meant.
Yeah, I did. And it's because it feels like Philadelphia does feel like a city of underdogs, and partially that's because it has a history of being an underdog city. I mean, if you actually look at the city of Philadelphia's history, it's all messed up. And not only is it all messed up, but it's also filled with like these moments of extreme unity, but then it peters off and becomes racist again. Race is like the big problem, right? Race is one of the biggest problems in the city of Philadelphia, and it's because of the way the map was drawn. The housing map was drawn many years ago, and that leaves us now with an ultra segregated city. And so the coming off of that and starting to try to find the true nature and the culture not that there wasn't culture at some point. I mean, there's always been culture in the city, and there always will continue to be. But as hopefully people start to wake up to the idea that this ultra segregation doesn't make any sense, and we start to get more unified in the city,
Yeah.
more than we already are, we'll just have something even more special. It started in a similar vein to Glasgow, just as like a working city. That was the idea of one of the founding fathers, and it feels as though that still holds true in some way. Like it feels like what the city was built as hundreds of years ago really is like still what is happening here. Obviously, yeah. Well, obviously a lot has changed, but it's just everything still feels like it's from the ground up. I guess that's a good way to put it. It feels like
Gotcha.
stuff happens from the ground up. It doesn't feel like it's infiltrated by people from New York.
Yeah.
That's who always infiltrates everyone.
New York.
Yo, if you listen to this and you're from New York, that's enough. You're done.
No hate to our New Yorkers.
I guess not. But how come you got all those football teams and none of them are from the city?
That's true. That's a good point.
You know, come on now.
Go Birds.
You got one that's in New Jersey. How come you got a football team?
Yeah. But that's a great point with this idea that, things feel like they're built from the ground up here. I would argue to say that that's even more prominent with the art that gets made here, with the community of art makers.
Yeah, Philly Fringe is good.
Philly Fringe is great. Yes, I adore it.
Philly
Please
Fringe
go
is
see
good.
a Fringe show. Always see a Fringe show. To those who are listening, amazing art gets made during the Fringe Festival. But yeah, with that in mind, I would love to know, and I'm sure the listeners would, what is your artistic process? You say you're an artist, an actor and a musician.
Yeah, I guess.
What do you make? What do you do? Why? And why do you love it? And who are your inspirations? You are one of the most out there creatives that I've met.
That's interesting.
And I mean that in a great way, because I feel like you have an ability to just make what you want and do what you like.
I'd like to hope so.
In a way that I don't see a lot of people
so.
do, because you just don't have a wall that stops you from doing it. So I'd love to pick your brain. What do you do?
I think that's a funny question, because the truth of it is, as tacky as it sounds, I don't think I wanted to be an artist in the theater, or wanted to be an artist on the violin, or anything specific. I didn't ever, when I was a kid, have big dreams of being some specific kind of artist. I think it's quite a lot more general. I would coin myself as one of these sort of self-infatuated artists that like call themselves a real artist, or some bullshit like that. And I would call myself that because I just think artistically. I mean, it's not really, I don't have an idea that I'm trying to work on in a specific way. Rather, more often than not, I see things in the world that are wrong. Like, and that's obviously an opinion, but that's not the way that it manifests in me. It manifests as a truth. Like, when what's a good example? Like, when I started writing this pirate musical, like Bloody Pirates. Like, when I started writing that, it was because nobody knows how to write a good, showy musical that also confronts death well. All these musicals coming out here with there's a big death, and so they have to sing 10 songs about it, and everybody has to cry, and they have to make sure that everybody knows they're dead, and then if we can, we'll have that character come back to life. It just feels like we're dragging our feet. And so most of my artistic process is seeing something wrong and fixing it. That's what I love doing. So when I'm acting and I have a character, it's seeing what the what the person has written and then sort of finding that character in the text. If it's violin, it's like either writing or playing something. If I'm writing something musical, it's the same thing. It's like that is something that I wish was better and I want to make it better. And in the case of playing music, sometimes it feels like a lost cause because it's like someone's always going to play it better than you can, right? That's like a natural truth of art. And
Yeah.
but that you always want to try to make it your own somehow, and by making it your own, you're in a sense fixing it as well. I think originality is the most important thing in art. I think doing something somebody's already done is the laziest thing in art. Like when people do bad art that's original, I dig that. When people do good art that's unoriginal, it's annoying. So like I think for me, like I'm just working through life with that sort of lens. It's the most pretentious thing. It is absolutely the single most pretentious thing to say, because it gives this idea that like, well, I'm an artist and what the hell are you? But really, I don't pretend to just to make something better than anyone else, or furthermore, anything even necessarily good. I feel like things have to be some type of way. And so I make that happen for myself. That's what I strive to do. And I'm making myself happy by making something the way that I want it to be. Ultimately, it has something to do with control, but it's what I love to do. And with any luck, it can turn collaborative, which it does often. You know, when you want to make something a certain way and you find somebody else that thinks the thing is also needing to be restructured, the thing needs to be fixed, it needs something new, something else, finding somebody else that shares that idea. Well, now it's really interesting because you share the idea that the thing needs to be changed and that it needs to be fixed, but you probably don't share the exact same idea about how it should be fixed. So that's when really interesting art starts to get made, because you have two different sort of viewpoints coming at an obstacle together, and then you add a third person and a fourth person, and it just, the more people that can be interested in restructuring all or any or some parts of the world are where really interesting art comes from.
Yeah.
There is nothing that can't be made into an art, right? Like, we talk about art, and especially, even on this podcast specifically, we talk about art usually as a thing that reflects very everybody can have their own perspective on the thing. It's subjective is what I was thinking.
Yes.
Good Lord. It's a subjective thing. It's sometimes visual, it's sometimes performance, right? We think about drawing, we think about plays, we think about musicals, we think about television, film, video games. We don't often think about things like science or medicine. And those things are, in their pure form, just as anti-artistic as anything that is this quote unquote idea of artistic. But then, when I say quote unquote, let me specify it, because you ever go to hotels, you go to Hampton Inn and you see like that photo on the wall that somebody took. It's like of a wave.
Yeah.
And it's just like that corporate nonsense art.
Like a hill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Like, that's fine, I guess. But maybe who cares? It matters if you maybe like meet the person that shot it and if they have some really interesting idea, but usually it's not the most original or interesting thing ever. You can equate that to like the essence of science, right? Because science and medicine and all these factually driven jobs and occupations, they have a much more concrete basis for understanding. So I think for a lot of people, it's harder to view them in a way that's artistic. However, having a father as a physicist who definitely treated physics as an art form was integral to understanding that art has very little, if anything at all to do with what you are making, and a lot to do with the process. And again, the restructuring, trying to figure something out, trying to find something where there is nothing, or to destroy something and create it from the ground up where there is something that you don't like. And that's my process. That's what I think art should be. That's when I see good art, that's what it is. It's people really making stuff that reflects something.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I think that as an actor, right, there's this natural sort of desire to bring to life a piece of work, right?
Sure.
You started as an actor, right? Would you say? Or you started as a musician?
Yeah, I think so.
Now you find yourself writing as well.
Uh-huh.
How's that like progression been? And how has that fallen into this like desire to reconstruct and make things that you believe need to be made? Would you say that you're leaning even more towards writing more than performing more? Or are you finding yourself within each of these art forms differently?
Well, that's true, full stop. I mean, I am absolutely finding myself in all of these art forms differently. However, to address the slightly broader question, I think when you find a new type of art that you like, or find a new passion, even if it's not a quote unquote type of art, and if you really find yourself diving into it, you'll probably find ways that what you're used to in your past art forms, or what you're used to in your life, or what you're good at, is helpful to that art. So, what am I getting at? So, like, in terms of writing, like, I want to write stuff that I would want to read as an actor.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
Or as a musician, I'd want to write stuff that I want to play as a musician. As a cyclist, I want to tune my bike to the bike I'd like to ride. As a game creator, I want to create a game that is something that I want to play. So with the creation versus the action, we can say the action is things like performing or playing or doing the thing. When the creation, on the other side of it, being like the writing or the composing or the constructing. The constructing, I am always trying to do for the other end, for the people that are doing the thing, because I don't think it makes any sense to do it for anyone else. Obviously, I'm doing it for myself as well, but I have the vision of what I want it to be from an outsider's perspective. So you got this weird thing where, like, if I'm writing this, you remember 2175, this like grouping of short stories that I'm working on, those, like, I am writing something, and then when I read it to myself, I want it to be something that if someone read it to me, I would love it. And that's that's sort of a silly thing, because again, the pretentiousness, right? You're, to some degree, artists are stuck in a cycle of like, how do I do something that is for others? Because art is not just for the person making it. It is by design and by default for other people as well. But also, if you're making art for just for other people, yeah, to me that's nothing. That's not useful. I mean, that's just not my thing. Making art for other people. I love to see somebody's intentions on stage. I love to see somebody's intentions in a book. I love to see somebody's intentions in a game. And it's so easy when you can find their intentions. Did I say that right? It's so easy to find their intentions when they made them clear from the start. Like, whatever medium it may be. It's so clear when you start reading a book or watching a movie or watching a play or playing a game, when the person or people that worked on it just knew what they were up to from the start. And that doesn't mean that it didn't go through 100 million revisions, but it does mean that the essence of something was pure from the beginning, and they were making something for themselves to some degree, or for a purpose that wasn't just like appeasing the masses, I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Finding a purpose that's not just appeasing the masses.
You have been a part of a lot of different projects, and most recently that are coming to mind, you were able to perform at UArts a number of times. Primarily, one that sticks out to me was your role in Burial of Thieves, along with
Yeah.
recently your contract, which we talked about before, very briefly, your contract with the Pennsylvania Renaissance Faire. This sort of desire to, or inherent ability as an artist to make what you will enjoy and find the true intention within it. As an
Yeah.
actor yourself, how do you approach something that in Burial of Thieves case is like a classic story, one that is known by many, and make that your own and enjoy it, while then with, like, say, a form of immersive theater like the Renaissance Fair? How do you find yourself in that? And where do you find the connection between these sorts of art forms as an actor?
Well, let's think about this. In the exact same way that you make the art for yourself when you're doing the creationist art, it's also good, I think, to perform the art for yourself. When you're doing a play, it's widely accepted, though not necessarily universally accepted. It's widely accepted that if you're having fun and you know what you're doing and you know what you're talking about, then the audience is having fun and they know what you're doing. This is also how I approach different types of work and different types of theater. When I started working at the Pennsylvania Renaissance Faire, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't really understand it. But I think my success, well, I felt successful, and that's what
Yeah,
I care about.
That's success.
My success was found by knowing what I was doing sort of for myself and believing I knew what I was doing for myself, and then giving that to other people through action. So, like, I'm not sure I can think of an example, but again, yeah, I don't know how to put it other than when you are performing something that is scripted or unscripted, if you feel and think and know that what you're doing is useful in some way, then it probably is. So at the Ren Fair, I guess I did a little bit of self-convincing that what I was doing was meaningful because there wasn't a lot of direction. And a thing like Burial at Thebes, you're looking at the director every 5 minutes to say, is this useful? Does it mean anything? Am I doing something impactful? And you can't know for sure, but you can get a sense for what how they're responding. And when you get a sense for how they're responding, then you try new things. You try what you feel is right, what is natural. You try what you feel is good. You think on it, you write on it, you work on it. Then you come back to the director, and the director guides you, right? And a thing like the Renaissance Fair, there are absolutely directors, but it's much more free form. And because of the improv, you find yourself in the position where the audience is the director. So now it's, what is working with the audience? What are they giving me good feedback on? And instead of writing and thinking and working inwardly to yourself, like I did a lot while I was playing Creon, you're working outwardly. You're trying things even if they don't make any sense, because maybe somebody resonates with them and then finds solace in it. I mean, I did a lot of stuff that really didn't work. I mean, walking around and just like goofing off with people at the Ren Fair was not my thing. It turned out that it really wasn't. I wasn't good at it.
Oh, gotcha. Like the interacted with the audience?
Well, specifically the roaming around, like walking up to groups and being like, "Hey, I have a game I want to try with you guys." Like, oh man, I sucked at that. I think I'm too introverted for that.
Oh.
However, standing and playing my violin and then waiting for someone to come along and then being like, "Hey, do you want to hear a song?" and then playing them a song, somehow I felt comfortable doing that. And then people really started to like that. And so then I had made some progress on what I found useful. And so then that's what I did for most of the season at the Ren Fairs. I played violin for people as they were passing, and then I'd ask them for a song, and sometimes we'd get off to banter. But I couldn't force it. I couldn't bring myself to force it. Some people are good at that. Some people are good at like wedging themselves in situations. I wasn't good at that. So I tried to play to my strengths. And the same thing in a traditional theatrical production. I can't do what some people are doing. When I cry on stage, I can't bring tears to my eyes, but I can make my body convulse like I'm crying in a way that a lot of people can't.
Right.
I'm trying to not only, I mean, backtracking to what I was talking about in terms of do what you like and what makes you happy. In addition to that, having the knowledge about what you're good at and what you know how to do gives even more of a truth to a character or a scenario or a piece of writing or whatever. When you have a skill in something and you're aware of how to harness it, then it's a great way to bring emotion to a piece of art. As an artist, I can't paint like Monet, but how can I paint? That's one of the harder things, I think, for actors. Definitely one of the hardest things for me. It's like, I can't do what he's doing. How do I do something that invokes a similar feeling? I can't go up to large groups on the street at the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair and just strike up a conversation. How can I do something that also impacts people? I can't play a crazy, mad, off-the-wall Creon. What can I play? And then going back to the very beginning of the conversation, fixing that problem. If there is a thing that you were supposed to play, if you were supposed to go up and be a part of a conversation at the Ren Fair, and you can't, if you were supposed to do that and you can't, fix it. But don't fix yourself, change what the action is. As an artist, we're changing what the action is. We're changing the thing. If you're writing it, you can't write like Quentin Tarantino's writing. You can't write like Martin Scorsese's writing. You write like how you can write, and you try to get the feeling of their movies, right? You try to get something lightning in a bottle, and you try to find that. So I guess it comes down to like essence and trying to find the aura of something. Because, and again, like this comes back to this idea of process that you brought up before, because this is how I process the art. And I'm certain there are people that look at it much more objectively and concretely than I do. In a room, I suppose I look at things objectively and concretely, but in theory, my head's very floaty when I'm thinking about a piece of art. I mean, I will, like, when I'm in a show, I will daydream about the show for hours in a day. It's all I think about. I'm just in that world. When I was playing Creon, I'm just like, I mean, I don't remember what I was thinking about now, of course, because it's been a year or whatever. But like, I think I was thinking about stuff like, how does he go to the bathroom, and what does it mean for him to go to a business meeting, and what are the 10 other things that he has to do in the day? And this other character, that's interesting. What is their character's motive against my character? I'm doing all this dreaming and just like creating this big grand picture, and it's a restructured picture. So that then when I come into work, I have a picture in my head. People don't have to ask me to restructure in real time. I have been restructuring. I'm always restructuring, so that then when I come in, I'm ready to talk about it. I'm ready to see where our ideas collide. Again, like talking about in the beginning of our conversation, like when you get a collaborator and you both have the same idea that something needs to be fixed, but you don't you don't fix it in the same way. I want to have my way of fixing it figured out in my head,
so you can bring that
so that I can bring that to the table.
Yep.
And so with different projects like this, when you talk about the difference between Faire and Antigone, different projects like that are not more difficult or easier or or even that different.
Mm-hmm.
They're different in the fact that the action is different, but they're not different in the way that I am approaching how I want to think about a thing.
Gotcha.
They're different in the way that I have to eventually change my mode or whatever. Again, it's full of pretentiousness. I keep saying it, but I will, because my brother calls me out on it all the time. I think this is actually, you probably have more questions you want to ask, but this is an interesting thing to me, because pretentiousness in art is, man, it's a real interesting thing, because we can get really heady and we can get really feeling like what we do is greater than or less than, or always positioning it in respect to something else. But what you want to do, what I want to do, and what I think other people want to do but sometimes have trouble doing, is do what I love and have other people find it useful. And the result of that, I suppose, is some minor need for pretentiousness, in the sense that we have to or want to think bigger than some other people, and that is innately pretentious, and that's one of the drawbacks of art.
Yeah.
Is having to or wanting to think bigger than other people. I'm sure there are some interesting minds out there that would really dispute that idea, but you should talk to me about it.
For sure.
Whoever those minds are.
Would you say that this process was fulfilled?
Which one?
No, sort of this approach you have to making art. Do you think that was fulfilled with your musical projects, with TMC? Because I think I was very touched by what you said when it comes to how people receive it and finding it useful. And I was curious to know, like, when you had originally released music underneath that name purely for yourself, you did get a response to it.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
That surprised you. What was that like?
Well, man, I guess it's funny, because sometimes I want recognition for things I put a lot of work into, and other times I'm aggressively recognized for things I've put in very little work into. That's not bad. That's not wrong. But it's fascinating, because I guess part of American culture is feeling like the work you put in should be, you put work in, you should get something back.
Right.
So when I made stuff like TMC, and that was nothing but, there was no work put into that. There was negative work put into that. There was less than work put into that. That's nothing, right? Like that's the goofiest nonsense I've ever heard in my life. Sometimes I listen to that and I'm like, why would you make that? And it is funny to me and I like it, but I never intended for it to have any merit whatsoever. And furthermore, half of it is stuff that's, pre-sampled from GarageBand. People, I'm just mashing stuff together and putting stuff, who cares?
Yeah, it's
right?
A mockery of musicianship.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just
but in the best way.
It is a mockery of musicianship.
But yet you're a musician.
So this is so funny that you're bringing this up, because you're not the only motherfucker to read into it like this. There's so many, several of my friends have been like, oh, this is such an interesting commentary on music. This is, oh man, you make such interesting stuff, and this stuff, and I'm like, wow, man, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I've never, I think it's proof of what I am saying.
Yeah.
Where when you make something for yourself, it resonates with others.
Exactly.
When you make something that tries to appease others, people are instantly reviewing it.
Yep.
They're instantly finding what they thought it was going to be and finding that it's not what they thought it was going to be in some way, or that if it is what they thought it was going to be, it's a fantastic version of that. But I make this stupid little LP and the EP that came before it, and two of my best friends listen to it and they love it, and you love it, and Val, our music production friend, loves it, and I am sort of baffled by that. You're right in saying that I have musical talent. I can't be some sort of blind, humble man that says like, no, I'm not really that talented. No, it's true that I have good talent with music, and so I guess that sort of rubs off into the GarageBand posts. But on the other hand, again, it's really so much just like loving the work.
Yeah.
Just like sitting in front of the computer and pressing buttons until something sounds funny to me. And I can't tell you how many times I've laughed at my own work. Even in the car, because now it's on Spotify. I will put on one of my albums in the car to remind myself what I wrote, because I forget. And I will instantly start laughing because I think it's funny. It's the ultimate inside joke.
Yeah.
And that is, of course, my thing, right? Is the ultimate inside joke. But
yep.
But it's the ultimate inside joke because it's with only me. Like it's an inside joke with myself. It's not like me and one other person. You and one other person. Hey, that's a small inside joke.
Right.
No, it's me and myself. That's who's making the joke. So then you find that the inside joke, funnily enough, people really related to it.
Yeah.
And maybe what you thought was an inside joke only for yourself is actually an inside joke for lots of people.
Nice.
I don't know how that manages to happen, but I guess
that's art sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a small world, and people like a lot of things a lot of people do.
For sure. I ask this next question of everyone because I believe it gives me everything I need to know from like a surface level standpoint of like who I'm going to be working with, who I'm talking to,
right,
and how their brain works.
Okay.
Right off the top of the dome. Favorite movie?
Yeah. Surf's Up.
There it is. Why?
Surf's Up is the best movie of all time. Don't ever talk to me. Okay, if you come up to me at a Comic-Con, right? I'm sitting there at a Comic-Con. I got my own table. I didn't work on any projects at Comic-Con, but I brought a table there, and now I'm sitting at it. And you come up and you see me, and you say, oh, it's Carl. Never met him before, but he's got his name there posted in gold letters on the table. And you say, my favorite movie is, I don't know, The Godfather. Die. Because what it's supposed to be is it's supposed to be the movie Surf's Up. Okay, you've got Shia LaBeouf in this movie, right? He's funny. He, man, did he crash out? But he's funny in that movie.
Yeah.
It's got
surfing penguins.
It's got Jeff Bridges in it. Surfing penguins. The actual. So there's an earnest answer to this question, which is that it's just one of the most ridiculous and innovative movies I've ever seen. When you go to a writer's room and you say, let's make a movie about penguin surfing and make it documentary style, what is that? Like, and then
to be in the room.
And then what's crazy is making it turn out really good.
Yeah.
I think that's like, there are so many movies. What is that? Secret Life of Pets? Get the hell out of my face with all this new movie nonsense. What else is Universal making? That company is trash. And Disney makes trash movies. Everybody makes trash movies, okay? Marvel Cinematic Universe, garbage. What I'm saying is that to make a really original kids movie is like something of legend. Shrek.
I was just about to say.
I'm talking Toy Story. I mean, Pixar's got heavy hitters, right? Of course they do. DreamWorks has heavy hitters. I'm talking Imagine Dragons.
The band?
Yup. That was a Disney movie. How to Train Your Dragon. That
Oh,
was
that's
a
what you meant.
DreamWorks movie.
Okay, gotcha.
These are like they're so good.
Hmm.
And one of the things that makes him so good is that the writer's room pitch sounds like a goddamn joke. It sounds so dumb. But then executing it with absolute finesse, because when we talk about what we like to relate to as humans, ultimately one of the things that's lovely to experience is relating to something that is absolutely nothing even remotely like your current situation.
Yes, exactly.
Surf's Up manages to do that. I am nothing like a penguin surfer from the Arctic.
No one
who
ever could be.
No one ever could be that or anything like it. The closest you could be is an actual surfer, and there's like 3 of those guys, and they're all in Hawaii. None of them are in the Arctic. Okay,
No, there's like one in Australia.
I gathered that.
Yeah.
But I mean, my God, it's so making a movie that encapsulates so much about loss and fame and friendship and family, and doing it all through the lens of doing a documentary style, making the characters even more human, even though they're
Real, yeah.
penguins. Look, I mean, it's great. That's the reason I love the movie.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'll say about it is they did. It's one of the only times I've ever heard of this happening, but the shoot was done with everybody who was in the scene was in the room recording at the same time, and that's the takes they used.
Really?
Yeah, for the audio. That hardly ever happens.
Oh, wow.
That they'll put in the actual same room, but they did that for all of the scenes and all of the dialogue in Surf's Up, and it's so clear because the dialogue is so natural, and it's so fluent, and no doubt half those lines were made up, and they should do it more often, but it's so hard to animate.
Of course.
And then there again, props to the animators for doing such a good job. Anyway, so there's about a billion things that the movie got right, but that's the best movie ever of all time. Don't ever talk to me about it. Don't ever try to convince me that Django Unchained is the best movie of all time. Don't try to convince me that Godfather 2. Don't talk to me about Goodfellas. Okay, don't talk to me about Blue Velvet. I don't want to hear about your Alfred Hitchcock. I don't want to hear about your Nosferatu. Okay, Surf's Up is better than the Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and that's just how it goes. No flack to Christianity. Shout out my brothers in Christianity.
True.
What else we got on there?
What's your future like, man? Like, so, and I know that's very broad, but I love broad questions. That's because I want to see where your brain's gonna go.
Yeah.
What is your future right now? What do you think? Like, what are your ambitions, plans, goals? Who do you want to collaborate with? I think we're at an interesting point in our lives and in the state of the world. And as artists, I'm curious as to what you're looking forward to. What is Carl planning for? You know what I mean?
When you get into a position.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Of doing art, when you get into a position of doing art, the question is always, do you do the art as your main gig, or do you do something else as your main gig? Who knows? I keep trying to figure it out. When I did the Ren Fair, I was like, I have to do this for the rest of my life. And then I remembered it didn't pay anything, and I have diabetes, and I need health insurance, right? What are you supposed to do? I mean, the world's going to end in 3.5 minutes, okay? And, I'll tell you what my future looks like.
Sure.
I'm going to go get a 50 cal from Walmart. They sell guns, right? I'm going to get a 50 cal from Walmart. I'm getting a can of baked beans, going on the streets. We're going survival up in this MF. And you'll see me in, like, Mount Fuji after the bombs. I'm probably just gonna keep dealing blackjack.
Yeah, you know, I absolutely get it though. I feel like there is a certain energy right now that feels a little on fire,
Yeah.
but you take it one step at a time, and I think you know, for the people listening, it's more. I'm more curious about what you want to make of the upcoming future. You know what I mean?
Listen, let me tell you something. It's not my job to save the world. If you're out there and you think it's your job to save the world, appreciate you. It's my job to help the world
Mm.
and help the people in my community. That's my job. My job is not to help the war in Ukraine. That's not, you know, this is a hot take. This is a hot button topic. These are hot things. But it's not my job. I support people in Ukraine. Same thing with any movement in the US. You know, movements against Trump. You know, we don't want to get particularly political, but
Yeah.
but Black Lives Matter, trans lives matter. Look, I'm there with people. I'll go out and protest. I'm digging it. But I also know that I can't be the one to snap my fingers and make everything better. I can be a small part of useful change in the world. And some would call that a pessimistic way to look at things. Some would call it a privileged way of working with things. It's both of those things. I am a realistic pessimist and also a heavily privileged white man. But I don't want to pretend that I can do more than I can.
Mm.
And so, you know, I'm going to work at, you know, I'm going to volunteer at Broad Street Love. I'm going to donate my $8 a month to Wikipedia, my $8 a month to the Human Rights Foundation, you know. And then I'm going to be with my friends. I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to be with my family. I'm going to support them. I'm going to be with my partner. I'm going to cook. I'm going to clean. I'm going to play games. You know, I'm going to have good conversations. I'm going to go places, see things. That's the future, you know. That's the future for me. I'm going to do what helps me be content. And I would urge people to do the same thing. Obviously, it's not an easy thing to do. It's not even easy for me. And I have about close to the most privilege you can have in the world, right? As a white, cisgendered American man. And yet it's not even the easiest thing ever for me. So of course it's not going to be easy for anyone. And for those that can pitch in the small things like conversations and listening and, you know, going to help your neighbor and whatever. It sounds sort of tacky, I guess, but gosh, it's my true belief that that's the most important thing in the future, and that's what I'm going to focus on. You know, I mean, I'm probably shifting my sights towards domestic life at this point. I don't know about traveling. I don't know about going everywhere. You know, fulfilling my dreams as an artist can be done in so many ways. It doesn't require Broadway. It doesn't
Yeah.
require fame.
Absolutely.
You know, it doesn't require recognition. So with that stated, you know, I want to do the things I just listed in terms of helping the world because and let me make this very clear. I need to help the world. You know, the reason I say that I can't save the world is because when I was younger, that's all I wanted to do. That's all I could think about doing, is that the world needed saving and I wanted to be the superhero to make it happen. So I was downloading every news app on the planet, intaking every single piece of information I could. And I was so integral in the Black Lives Matter movement. I was going out there and protesting. I'm writing letters to senators. I'm going to different, you know, I'm going to courthouses. I'm making stuff happen for friends, whatever. And I'm suicidal. You know, I'm finding myself suicidal because I can't take it. That kind of the world. You know, whatever I would do, the world's misery is one step ahead of me. You know, there's always a problem I can't solve. So what can I do then?
Right.
You know, being realistic about what I can do to help and what others can do to help me. It's changed my life, the framework, because it now I feel like the work that needs to be done to really help heal my world and my friends' world and my family's world is manageable and doable, and I can be a part of it, and my friends can be a part of it. And yeah, that gives me a lot of hope.
Would you say that this goes hand in hand with how you'd like to be remembered?
Remembered is a funny thing. I don't know how much I care about being remembered. I in terms of being, when people say being remembered, I often think of being remembered on a large scale, which is not important to me. In terms of so I guess to answer your question, yes.
Yep,
I mean,
that's
I mean,
what I figured.
if
Yeah.
you were saying because I want to, well, I don't need to be remembered as a hero. I don't. In fact, I don't want to be remembered as a hero.
Right.
I would want to be remembered as someone who tried to make things a little bit better for some people, tried to make some good art, tried to make some good music, had some good times. You know, it's like scenes in movies or video games or whatever, you know, when they're like reminiscing about a character in small form. It's like 3 members of a family or something tacky like that, or like sitting telling stories about their dad when they, you know, whatever. That's that's how I'd want to be remembered. You know, but outside, next to a fire. By the one time I crashed my car into a tree, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's the human stuff that I want to be remembered, not the larger than life stuff. There is some larger than life stuff that can be found about everyone. There's always, you know, everyone has that piece of them that is larger than life. But I'd love to be remembered for the things that are average size life, you know, average size life.
Absolutely.
And that's how I like to remember people that I've passed in my life is in average size.
It's the
life.
everyday stuff.
Yeah.
For sure, man. Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, that just about wraps this conversation up.
We're about to be done.
We're about to be done. Thank you so much for sharing and talking to me.
No problem.
I love you, man.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. You got real, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do.
Yeah.
Before you go, 2 questions, very quick ones.
Okay.
And
so to answer that first question,
okay.
Rita's Italian Ice should be open year round. It's not debatable.
Rita's?
It should be open year round. I don't know why people close it during the year. I want. You listen to me, Rita's, when I'm telling you this. I want ice cream, custard, happiness, ice custard happiness. Your whole motto. I want that in the winter.
In the cold.
What was your second question?
Yeah, well, okay. My second question is, I would love to have more people on this podcast, obviously. And do you have someone that you'd like me to interview? It doesn't have to be somebody I already know, but it can also totally be somebody connected to the city, somebody connected to the art community, someone that you think would just be wonderful to pick the brain of.
You got K-Dot on your list, right?
Krista Apple.
Yeah.
I sure do.
Okay.
And how come?
Well, she's one of the most dialed minds in theater.
Yeah.
She's one of the most dialed minds in theater, man.
Agreed.
I mean, she is
enough said.
She is one of the most dialed minds in theater, man. Let me tell you.
To those who know, yeah.
Hey, if you don't know Krista Apple, let me tell you something about her. If I were to have one phrase to discern Krista Apple, I would say she is one of the most dialed minds in theater.
I would love to have her on.
Yeah,
That would be great.
Uh-huh.
Where can people find you, pal?
You can't.
I know.
My house. Come to my house. You think I'm gonna say my address?
Please.
Kick Rocks.
Yeah, don't do that.
Kick Rocks.
So
I live somewhere in like the kind of Philadelphia area. I'm not even in Pennsylvania, fool.
Not even.
I don't live in Pennsylvania.
You don't?
No.
Okay. Just lie to people.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Okay. So if people would like to collaborate with you, work with you, cast with you, anything, how is their best method of locating you, communicating with you? And I will include it in here because you don't have social media.
You can hit my email.
There it is.
Hit me up at carlbright.walk@gmail.com. I'm telling you.
Carl
Good place to
Bright-Walck?
find me. CARBRIGH.
Just Car. Okay, that's what I thought you said.
I was young. CARBRIGHT@gmail.com.
Editor's note, Carl forgot the second half of his last name, so his email is actually CARBRIGHTWALCK@gmail.com.
Good place to find me. You can listen to my music if you think it's a funny thing to do.
Yeah, plug it.
!TMC! That stuff's funny. It's probably not for you, but you should listen to it anyway.
Highly recommend you should listen to it.
You know, if you listen to it and you don't like it, don't tell me. I don't care. If you listen to it and you like it, don't tell me. I don't care.
You have a blog.
I have a blog, some music. I don't know where you can find that. I always forget the link. It's like Carl Bright-Walck.
I will include it in
Wix.
this.
There you go. Look, you've got to look. You're gonna plug this on your. What do you have? You got the Snapchat and the Insta, and you got the. What do you have? You got all these different social. You got the Facebook, the
Carl
Meta universe.
is also in his 20s. By the way, to those listening, the way he was speaking right now does not help that.
What kind of socials you have? But that's what they ask me. They say to me, what's your Instagram, kid? And I say, get out of my face.
Thanks so much for being here today, Carl.
I swear. I'll catch you later.
I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to work with Carl, if you want to see what he's up to, we got a play at the end of the soon that we're going to be in together.
You could try it.
You can come see that.
The play of our company.
The play of our company by Janet M. Fishman.
Go come see Janet M. Fishman's play of our company. It's going to be something else. You know
it's going to be fun. I'll include all that information. We're both in that, so that'll be a good time.
Figure it out. You know, Rosie Hay, come. Hey.
That'll be in May. Thanks for being here, Carl. Thank you to those who took a little bit of their day to listen to us have a conversation. I hope you took something from it.
Let us know in the chat down below.
Let us know in the chat.
Isn't there a chat?
There isn't, but I mean, there'll be comments probably in ways to. Thank you so much for listening. This was another episode of the Philly Phone Book, a podcast archive. I was your host, Gideon Caro McDonald. Real art is made by real people. Please thank your SEPTA drivers and have an amazing day. Thanks so much. As Carl sleeps like a cartoon gnome. That's it.
Oh, yay.